You have dreams, don't you? Not just small ones, but the kind that light up your chest when no one's watching. The kind that whisper to you late at night when the world is quiet and you wonder what more your life could become. You want to build something meaningful, to be someone you're proud of, to wake up and feel that maybe, just maybe, you're living the life you were meant to live. But there's a problem. You're not doing what you know you should. And that quiet little voice in your heart, the one that used to be filled with hope, now carries something heavier. Guilt. Because deep down you know you're capable of more, you're smart, you have vision, you have everything you need except the will to begin. And that guilt, it lingers. At first it's soft, a passing thought, why didn't I start today? But it grows, days become weeks, weeks become months, and without even realizing it, you begin to accept it. Accept laziness as part of who you are. You start telling yourself things like, I'm just not disciplined. I'm too tired. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Then the new year arrives, a fresh start, and with it the same goals from last year, the same promises, the same belief, this time I'll do it. And for a while you do. You wake up early, you make the lists, you feel unstoppable, but then it returns, procrastination. Like an uninvited guest, it slips into your routine. Quiet, familiar, persistent. At first, it's small, just 5 minutes on your phone. Then 20. Then the whole morning is gone, and before you know it, you're back to where you started. But this time with an added weight. Maybe I'm just a lazy person. Maybe you've said that to yourself more times than you can count. But what if I told you? You're not lazy, not really. What if the problem isn't your lack of ambition, but something far more human? There's a law in physics. You might have heard it. Objects at rest stay at rest. Objects in motion stay in motion, unless acted upon by an external force. It's called inertia, and it applies to more than just falling apples or rolling stones. It applies to you, to the way your mind works, to the way your body resists the very first step. That's the real enemy, not laziness, not you, just inertia. Because starting is the hardest part. You see, our minds have a way of turning the smallest task into a mountain. We imagine the pain of effort, the discomfort of focus, the fear of failing. And so, we avoid it, we scroll. We snack, we say, I'll start tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes because inertia wins again. And this is where most advice falls short. They tell you, delete social media, lock your phone, drink more coffee, wake up at 5 am. But none of that works, not for long. Because they're treating the symptoms, not the cause. The real challenge isn't your willpower. It's the initial push. That tiny, invisible force needed to move you from rest to motion. So how do we break through? That's what this video is about. Not motivation, not discipline, just motion, gentle, simple, real. Because once you're moving even a little, something shifts. You're not stuck anymore, you're alive. So how do we create that first spark? How do we move when everything in us wants to stay still? The answer is much smaller than you think. We don't need to climb the whole mountain. We don't need to finish the book or launch the business or become the version of ourselves we dream of all in one day. We just need to begin, that's it. Not with a bang, not with fireworks, just a step. A tiny, gentle step. Because once you take it, once you shift even slightly, momentum begins to build. Like water breaking through a crack in the ice. Like sunlight slipping into a dark room. And suddenly, what felt impossible begins to feel possible. But here's the trick: you have to lower the stakes. Because when the task feels too big, the mind shuts down. Fear creeps in. Perfectionism whispers, you'll never finish it. And inertia wins again. So instead of saying, I'm going to write my entire essay today, say this instead: I'm just going to write 50 words. Not 5,000, just 50. That's all. Or instead of, I need to clean my whole apartment, say I'll clean for 2 minutes. Then I can stop if I want. You see, when the stakes are low, the resistance fades. It doesn't feel like a threat anymore. It feels like something you can do. Something even your tired self can say yes to. And here's the beautiful part. You often don't stop. You write more than 50 words. You clean longer than 2 minutes. Because motion creates momentum. And momentum is magic. That's the secret no one told you. Not that motivation leads to action, but that action leads to motivation. That the feeling you're waiting for. The one that makes you want to leap out of bed and finally change your life. It only comes after you start, not before. So don't wait for the right mood. Don't wait to feel ready. That day may never come. Instead, ask yourself this: what is the smallest possible step I can take today? And take it, even if your hands are heavy, even if your heart is tired, even if you don't believe in yourself yet. Because that first step, it's not about achieving anything. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about saying to yourself, I may not be where I want to be, but I haven't given up on me. And that, my friend, is everything. That one step, as small and ordinary as it may seem, is proof that you're not lazy. You're just human. And you're learning to move again. And with every tiny action, every small yes, you become a little lighter, a little stronger, a little more you. Now, I want to tell you something that might surprise you. The people you admire, the ones who seem endlessly productive, disciplined, unstoppable, they don't feel motivated all the time. In fact, most of them don't even rely on motivation. They rely on momentum. They've simply mastered the art of beginning. They've learned how to quiet the voice that says, this is too hard. And instead, they ask themselves, what can I do right now, just for 2 minutes? And those 2 minutes, they change everything. Not because of what gets done, but because of who you become in the process. You become someone who starts, someone who moves even when it's hard, even when it's messy, even when it's far from perfect. And that changes your story, because the story you tell yourself matters. When you label yourself as lazy, you carry that label into every decision. You don't try because what's the point? You procrastinate because that's just who you are. You hide from your potential because you're afraid of proving that voice right. But that voice, it's lying. Laziness is not your identity. It's not your destiny. It's just a state, a moment, a season, and like any season, it can change. It begins with awareness, with compassion, with letting go of the guilt that says, you should have done more by now. Because here's the truth, you were doing the best you could with what you had and what you knew. And now you know more. You know it's not about waiting for the perfect day or becoming a different person overnight. It's about choosing to move just a little today. To start the song and clean while it plays. To open the notebook and write the first sentence. To reach out to a friend you've been meaning to call. To take one step toward the dream you've been putting off. Not because you're suddenly overflowing with energy, but because you've remembered something. You're not powerless, you're not broken, you're just at rest. And all it takes is a gentle push. Sometimes that push comes from inside you. Other times, it comes from someone who believes in you, someone who reminds you of what you've forgotten. So if you need to hear it today, let this be that voice. You are capable of incredible things. Not someday, not when you finally get your act together, but now, right here, right in the middle of the mess. In the quiet, in the hesitation, in the doubt, you are enough to take one small step, and then another, and then another. And yes, some days will still feel heavy. There will be mornings when the bed feels safer than the world outside. Evenings when you feel behind on everything, wondering if you're falling apart while everyone else moves forward. That's okay. Progress doesn't always look like motion. Sometimes it looks like pausing, breathing, beginning again, because healing is not linear. Growth is not a straight line. And change doesn't happen through one massive breakthrough, but through 1,000 quiet choices. Choices like showing up for 2 minutes, like doing one small thing even when your heart isn't in it, like forgiving yourself when you slip back into old habits, because slipping isn't failing. Slipping is part of the climb. There is no shame in starting over. In fact, it's one of the bravest things you can do. You are not lazy. You're learning how to be gentle with your resistance, how to understand it, not fight it. Because when you understand something, it loses its power over you. You begin to see procrastination not as a character flaw, but as fear wearing a disguise. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being good enough. And when you hold that fear with kindness, something softens. You stop running from it. You start walking with it. And as you walk, you learn that discipline doesn't mean forcing yourself to push through pain. It means honoring your future self enough to take a step today. Even a shaky one, even a quiet one, even a step no one else sees. Because those are the steps that change lives, not the loud ones, not the impressive ones, but the invisible ones, the ones taken in silence, in softness, in hope. The step you take when no one is cheering, when no one believes in you except you. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to keep going, to keep trying, to keep choosing motion over and over again. This is what healing looks like. This is what becoming looks like, not in leaps but in whispers. And right now, in this very moment, you are already moving. So here we are. You've made it to this moment, not by accident but by choice. A small one maybe, but still a choice, to listen, to reflect, to stay. And in a world that moves so fast, staying present with yourself is no small thing. It's everything. Maybe you're still unsure. still wondering if it's too late, if you've wasted too much time, if the window of becoming has already closed. But listen closely, you are not late. You are right on time for your life, your lessons, your rhythm, and the life you're dreaming of. It doesn't require you to become someone new. It only asks you to return to who you were before the doubt. Before the world told you you had to be perfect to begin. You were never meant to sprint. You were meant to unfold. And every tiny effort you make, even the invisible ones, are seeds. They may not bloom tomorrow, but they're growing silently beneath the surface. So don't worry if today's progress feels small. Don't worry if no one sees it. The best changes often happen in the quiet. All you have to do is stay in motion. Let go of needing to feel ready. Let go of the pressure to catch up. Let go of the shame that says you've failed. You haven't failed, you've paused, you've waited, you've listened. And now you're ready to rise not with force but with grace. There is power in your softness. There is strength in your stillness. There is hope in your return. So tomorrow, or even later today, when that old voice returns, the one that says, "It's too much. You'll never finish. You're not enough," I want you to remember this moment. This truth: you are not lazy, you are someone in motion. And motion, even the smallest kind, creates change. It creates momentum. It awakens possibility. It brings you home, home to your dreams, home to your voice, home to yourself. And from this place, this quiet, steady motion, a new life begins, not someday, not when you're perfect, but here, now. In this single sacred step forward, so take it, and then take another. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step, and I promise